As I said in my previous video, I wish to update my audience on important matters, but this update isn't really easy to talk about. I've been told that this isn't something that I need to do because of the nature of the subject, but I decided this is something I want to do regardless. I believe it's important for my audience to know that something recently happened to me and that they deserve to know how important it is. I'm not gonna go into every single minute detail as I feel like that information is too personal to put out publicly. I'm just gonna go over the basics, just to give people a clear idea as to what's going on. So, at the start of the month, my father Francisco passed away. I first heard this from Mom, who got a call from my aunt and uncle on my dad's side the morning it happened. He went into surgery as they were supposed to take something out of him, and at some point while he was unconscious, his heart went into cardiac arrest and he just flatlined. I don't know if it was before or after the surgery, but it was really bad. I remember being in shock and disbelief as this news was extremely abrupt with no warning. I felt my heart jumping out of my chest. The thumping got harder with every passing second. I was trying to calm myself down, placing a hand on my chest, but it wasn't enough. I hung my head on the porch table and slammed my fist on the table with frustration. I was desperately trying to convince myself that this wasn't real, that maybe I was just hallucinating, or this was just a really, really bad dream, or that I was just mishearing what I was being told. But I had to confront the reality that he was gone. My father is no longer here, and everything about this month has just been really horrible for everyone. My sister took it extremely hard. Mom has had some difficulty sleeping. My uncle is completely broken up. My aunt is always crying, and my cousins are very sad about it too. We've been doing everything we can to comfort each other and give each other support. We've been having get-togethers with Dad's side of the family. I've been spending more time with my cousins, and I've even been making plans with them to do some stuff together. Not to forget about Dad, but to do something to help ease the pain, you know? Because I know it's what Dad would have wanted. He wouldn't want us sitting around being sad and miserable over his passing all the time. He would, he would want us to keep moving forward and enjoy life and the little things that make it worth living. We've all been doing our best, but recovering from something like this takes a very, very long time. If anything, I don't think any of us will fully recover. That type of wound never fully heals. Nothing can fill the hole left behind by a family member when they die. And that was made most evident during the wake. Everyone was an emotional wreck. Seeing his cold, motionless body in the casket when he was still relatively young and full of life. He was in his early 60s, but he didn't look a day over 50. It just happened too soon when he should have had like another 20 to 30 years at most. It was a very long and exhausting day for everybody. I was given a chance to give my dad a nice eulogy, talking about how he was a good man, celebrating the life he lived, honoring him for being a supportive father, thanking everyone who came to pay their respects to him, and I didn't even have anything planned. That entire speech was made up on the spot, and yet when it was over, everyone applauded. I think that just means it was a good enough speech to honor my dad, which was the most important part of that moment. I wish I could say it got easier after the wake, but it didn't. There's still so much emotional pain and exhaustion for everyone. Me, my sister, my uncle, my aunts, my cousins, my mom, even my dad's old girlfriend who was very close to him. And there's still so much that has to be sorted out. Cleaning out his apartment, getting his legal stuff in order, other personal stuff. There's a lot that has to be done over the next several months. I'm doing everything I can to help out Mom and my sister. I just want to feel like I'm doing something to help. It's just so shocking how sudden this all is. It's not like with Grandma that we knew that it was coming and we were more prepared for it. It was so instantaneous. And what makes it so shocking is how, up until he died, my father looked completely healthy. He was always so active and smiling and able to move around by himself. The last time I saw him on Father's Day, he looked really good. He was active, and he was completely fine. When we drove out to have lunch, he had no trouble driving around in his car or walking or eating food. He showed no hint of discomfort the whole time. It was like any other visit that I've had with him. He was happy, he had a good sense of humor, he was glad to see me and spend time with me. It was like nothing was wrong. It's really haunting that way. Like the dad I saw on Father's Day and the dad at his wake were two completely different people. I just don't understand how something like that was possible. My dad had cancer for a long time, but he always seemed like he was able to beat it. He had it removed from his body several times, and he showed no sign of lingering illness or any weakness. It could be that it just came back so aggressively that there was nothing that could be done. I just wish I could have had more time with him. Just one more day to let him know how much he was loved. If anything, I'm glad I got to see him on Father's Day, and I'm glad my sister got a chance to spend time with him before he passed. It's never easy losing a family member because it becomes a constant that you have to incorporate into your life. You have to train yourself to live with it. You think to yourself, oh my God, they're really gone. How do I live the rest of my life without them? There's never a set-in-stone answer to that question. It always depends on who they were and how close you were to them, and how many memories you have of all the good times you shared. I still remember the stories that Dad always told me whenever we were going out on walks around the neighborhood. In my infancy, he was taking me for a walk around the house, and I heard a humming noise up in the sky that got louder and louder, until I looked up and I pointed at a flying object, and I said, "Airplane." That was my first word. Dad got to hear me speak for the very first time, and he always treasured that memory. I can only imagine that Mom was jealous of him for that. I've actually had a lot of fun memories with my dad now that I've had more time to think about it and remember him by those memories. I know he was a really good cook. He would make this tilapia fish with lemon pepper and mixed vegetables, and I always looked forward to it. I didn't know he could make a fish that good. He must have looked up the recipe and practiced making it. I'll have to see if I can try it out sometime just to try and replicate it. Oh, and there was this indoor arcade place we used to go to all the time, basically a better version of Chuck E. Cheese. Safari Zone, it was called. There was an indoor roller coaster, a virtual ride, a lot of rail shooting games. I remember playing House of the Dead 3 every time I visited. It even had a bowling alley. And it also had good pizza. It must have been like over a decade since I went there. I wonder if it's still in business. It was nice that Dad would take me out there and let me have some fun playing games and just exploring it to see if they added anything new. We also played board games over at his place. Trouble, Sorry, I think we played Clue one time. I remember we would laugh and poke fun at each other whenever we got a Sorry card or when we landed on each other's pawns when playing Trouble. Just some friendly competition that made it a bit more fun and charming. He really liked watching movies too. We would always get him gift cards for the theater and we'd watch something together. Whenever the movie was over, he'd always rate the movie like an 8 or a 9. I guess he just really enjoyed himself while we were there. And the last movie I saw with him was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I suppose that was a good memory to have of him too. That the last movie we saw in a theater together was a post-Phase 3 MCU movie that wasn't terrible. He liked watching movies so much that he'd even have us watch one at home on the Fire Stick. We'd pick something and sometimes we'd even get to see something that was currently in theaters. Save us money on having to watch something more than once, or save us from spending money on a bad movie like, you know, the Mulan remake. It definitely beat watching bootleg copies of movies that me and my uncle got from the flea market, you know, where someone just films it in the theater and puts the file on a DVD disc. And there's all the horrible video quality and sounds of people talking over it. It was really awkward and old-fashioned. Even then, there were some funny moments when we saw something on the Fire Stick. I don't remember what exactly it was for, but sometimes whenever we saw something on the Fire Stick, there would be this random ad that abruptly played in the middle of the movie out of nowhere. There's this guy smiling at the camera with a blender on a kitchen counter. He places this dollar sign in there and pulls it out to get a discount on car insurance. And then it just cuts back to the movie like nothing happened. Me and my dad would laugh every time it happened because the transition was so awkwardly placed, like it was actually part of the movie. I actually remember making a joke about how Sonic and Shadow will team up against this guy in the third movie. Another funny thing that Dad would do is that he would reinstate information that was happening on screen, almost like he was describing the movie to a blind person. I just let him play it out. There was something amusing to the way he would just reinstate and point out the obvious like I was some kind of 5-year-old watching it with him. He also liked to sing, particularly in Spanish. I know he'd sing in English sometimes, but honestly he was a lot better at singing in Spanish. He had a low and soothing tone when he did his vocal performances, and he picked really nice songs to cover. Sometimes I would overhear him singing in the next room and I'm like, oh wow, that's actually pretty good. I wonder why he doesn't do that more often, like, you know, he could have probably become a singer. But he still liked English music. I remember he liked stuff like Fly Like an Eagle from Space Jam, or his favorite Disney songs like Be Our Guest and Under the Sea. Speaking of Disney, I remember him coming with us for several visits to Disney World. You see, my aunt would plan out these really big visits to Disney World once every couple of years, and for the first couple of times, Dad would come with us. He stopped going after a couple of visits, I don't know why, but the times he did come were pretty cool. Going to Splash Mountain, Mission Space, PhilharMagic, just so many attractions he loved. It was always nice sharing the vacation with him, getting to have some fun memories with him over there. I just wish I got a chance to show him my pictures from the previous visit. I'm sure he would have really loved seeing all those photos. It's always a fun way to bring the vacation home with us. And every year we would also see fireworks on the 4th of July. We'd go out to the park by my uncle's and we'd get a really good view in the middle of the field. And just for fun, I try naming the fireworks as they blew up in the sky. I don't know why, I was just weird that way. It did fizzle out in recent years. I guess it's just really tiring to come up with 200 different names for fireworks every year. But from what I remember, Dad really liked it when I did that. Maybe he liked me being creative with the fireworks. As long as it made him happy, I guess that was the important part. He even came to see my 3rd grade Christmas play where I played one of Santa's elves. I got to do a really fun song and dance number for him and Mom, and I was just really excited knowing they were in the audience to see me perform. Oh, another school-related memory, when I was really little in kindergarten, we would do this little race before the end of the school year, and when I didn't win, I just sat down looking down. I didn't cry or pout, I just felt disappointed in myself. But Dad walked up to me and said that I did good. And I smiled and got back on my feet. Just his encouragement was enough to help me feel better. Another nice memory was how we would play safety tag over at the park. He'd drive me and my sister over there and we would play and get some fresh air. And one game we did was where he would pretend to be an alien chasing after us, and the two of us had to outrun him and get to the safe spot in a cylinder under one of the slides. We always had fun running around that place and getting some exercise in. And he also liked just going out to the park for concerts. Like once a month or so a band would stop by the park and he'd go to listen to them play. I actually joined him for a concert once and it was really cool seeing someone play live on stage. It's really different from just listening to their music on a YouTube video or something like that. I even took pictures of the concert when I went with him. It was a pretty fun show. Sometimes when we were at his house we'd watch Family Feud. And it is one of the stupidest game shows I've ever watched. You got this category and you have to guess which answers are on the survey, and the survey answers are some of the most horrible answers, like no one would have thought to say those things. You got these people coming up with really smart, reasonable answers, and none of them are on the survey. Like, what kind of stupid shit is that? And yet, me and my dad and my sister always had fun watching it. Maybe we just got a kick out of how stupid the survey answers are, or how we would have fun trying to guess them ourselves. Either way, it was another nice memory. We also went to this Italian restaurant called Marino's. He really liked their food. I guess that's just a common trait in the family. No matter who we are or what our heritage was, we always loved Italian. That actually reminds me of another place we went out to eat. This place called Ray's Pizza, which was supposed to be known for its jumbo pizza slice. We ordered a jumbo slice just to see how big it was, and we started joking about how if this slice wasn't as big as they were promising, we would have sued them for false advertising. Of course, we didn't do that, as those slices were indeed jumbo-sized. Like from the tip of my middle finger all the way down to my elbow joint. Yeah, that big. So big in fact that I couldn't even eat it by hand. I had to use a fork and knife like the way Chuck E. Cheese mocked parents for the classier way to eat a pizza. We poked fun at the guy at the register about how there was really good news and we wouldn't be suing him, and he took it like a champ. Guess he shared our sense of humor. Me and Dad really liked the place in spite of it only being our first visit, so we decided to go over there for dinner more often. He really liked it and I was just happy to have more jumbo pizza. Of course, Ray's Pizza would probably not even be a thing if it wasn't for the tragic fall of Uncle Pete's Pizza. This was the pizza that me and Dad and my Uncle Bob would always order whenever we got a chance to visit his house, and I swear on his grave, Uncle Pete's Pizza was like a gift from God. It was the most delicious and scrumptious pizza that I have ever had in my entire life. I've had a lot of good pizza places, but something about Uncle Pete's was just the most mind-blowing experience in terms of eating pizza. It felt like that episode of Bluey where she works really hard for that ice cream, and then she eats it and she finds herself in this wonderland of green. That's like what it was for me eating Uncle Pete's Pizza. And I don't know, it could have been because of COVID, but we were trying to call them one day and it said that their place just went out of service. Like, oh my god, Uncle Pete's is gone forever. It is completely disappeared from the face of the earth, and I was just so pissed. And I know that Dad was upset about it too, because he liked their pizza just as much as I did. He was always looking forward to ordering it whenever we suggested eating pizza. Yeah, it was really weird getting used to no more Uncle Pete's Pizza, but, you know, the important thing is we were able to get through it, because we did it together as father and son. It was just such a tragedy that we were never able to have their pizza again after that. But it was nice that it was replaced with another pizza place that ended up having some pretty good pizza too. And it was replaced with a pizza place that gave another nice memory with me and my dad. Just joking about the jumbo slice and how huge it was and how we were thinking about suing them for false advertisement if it didn't meet our expectations. It was just a really weird day for us. We would slide down that hill in the park by my uncle's house every winter when there was a lot of snow. We watched the clouds while lying on a grassy hill by the movie theater. Even riding my bike in the schoolyard by my old house, and Dad would just watch me riding around having fun. I think he just enjoyed watching me enjoying myself. Just having fun and living in the moment. And our get-togethers on Christmas were always crazy. We would all go to my uncle's house and a lot of people from Dad's side of the family would visit for dinner, dessert, movies, and then at the end of it, we would play a huge game of left, right, center. That game is practically a time-old tradition for us. We would do it every year. The intensity of it just grows and grows as more quarters are thrown into the bowl, and everyone is hoping for and chanting for another chance at it, trying to get all the money inside. It was like we were watching a really big baseball game, and we were all cheering like crazy. I remember one year my aunt was one of the biggest winners, like she got 6 games worth of quarters and the entire living room went wild. It was an explosion of excitement and we were all just so relieved that the game was finally over, but we were also congratulatory of my aunt being possibly the biggest winner of left, right, center of all time. Dad would always cheer for me and my sister to get a really good roll so we could split the money, like a 3-way win for us. Or at least a 2-way, since I'm pretty sure he would just give his share to us anyway. Still, it was always fun whenever we got together with his family. It was nice to visit them and spend time with them. Even if we didn't know each other much, it was fun getting together and talking about how each other's lives have been going so far. It was relaxing and it helped make my uncle's house feel like a third home. Actually, my dad had a lot of homes over the last couple of years. It's kind of weird how many times he would move around the state. Like, first he stayed with his brother, then he moved in with a friend, then he moved in with his girlfriend, and then he finally got his own apartment. He's certainly been around, so perhaps he was used to always being somewhere else. That would probably explain why he liked taking vacations so much. Traveling to Vegas, traveling to the Grand Canyon, even going on a cruise where he got to revisit his home country of Mexico. The thing is, Dad had cancer in him for a very long time. And one time when they removed it, he had to have a kidney taken out and replaced with some sort of artificial one. I'm not fully sure how it works. But after he lost his kidney, he had to retire early, but he made the most out of that extra time by trying to spend more time with his brother and sister. You know, just making the most out of an early retirement. It was nice that he was able to do that with his family, making more time for them and being able to be with them more often. Even our New Year celebrations were a lot of fun. We'd always stay up until midnight to see it live in New York with the big ball, and then in Chicago where they have that live stage performance. We'd have some snacks, watch movies, everyone else would drink except me because I don't like alcohol. But we would still celebrate the night away and we would have a blast doing it. Oh yeah, there are so many great, wonderful memories I had spending time with him. And it's kind of weird because in spite of happening years ago, or months ago at least, they still feel like yesterday in some weird way. I still remember it like it was yesterday when I was really little. I would pretend to be one of the action heroes in the television shows I would watch every Saturday morning. We would walk over to the old school by my old house, and I would stand up on one of the railings, and I would shout how I'm gonna be Superman or Batman or one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and one of the Power Rangers, and then I would jump up into the air and I would land in Dad's arms. He would catch me every single time. And it really shows just how much I trusted him back then. Like, normally you would not trust someone to just randomly catch you if you were jumping off a ledge, but I always put faith in my father whenever I took that leap. And he was always there to catch me whenever I fell. I guess it helps to symbolize a lot of what we've been through over the last couple of years. One thing that I always found a little weird was how, in spite of drinking alcohol, he would always talk about healthier eating. Like, he was always talking about eating better stuff and how we should drink less soda pop and more water. It could have been because of the cancer, but he was very cautious and very mindful of his health and monitoring it better. I could tell based on how many more bottles of water and less junky stuff he had in the fridge. I mean, sure, we'd still have pizza or a fast food burger from Burger King, but he was still thoughtful about his health. He took care of himself and he still cooked healthier stuff like that tilapia fish. Maybe he was trying to keep himself alive longer. I guess that kind of leads me into my last memory of him. The first time he had cancer removed from his body, I thought to myself, wow, Dad must feel really great about being a survivor of that. So one birthday gift I got for him was this mug that said, "Look at you beating cancer and shit." I could tell he really liked it. He smiled and said thanks and started using it for his morning coffee. I could tell he used it because I saw it in the sink whenever we visited. I wanted to get something unique to show him that I was really thinking about him. And I figured it would be a really unique gift to get for my dad, something really special instead of just a gift card or some money. And then he died from cancer. What a really nice message to send to someone who bought that mug as a birthday gift. You know what I'm saying? But then while me and Mom were cleaning out his apartment, you know, getting stuff organized to move stuff out before the lease was up, me and Mom made a discovery in the kitchen sink. It was that same coffee mug, mixed up with the rest of his dirty dishes. He had to have used that coffee mug before he went to the hospital where he passed away. Even when he knew he had cancer in his system, he was still using that mug. He used it for his coffee, thinking about me. Even in his final days, dying of cancer, he used that mug for his coffee. I don't have the words to describe how that feels. That he was willing to keep using that mug in spite of his condition. I thought surely he was going to look back on it and see it in bad taste since the cancer kept coming back to kill him. But instead he kept using it because he understood that I got that mug for him out of love, and in celebration of him still being alive to be with friends, family, and loved ones regardless of how much time he had left. This, above all else, is proof that my dad loved me. And I'm sure he loved his daughter, his brother, his sister, his cousins, and his nieces and nephews all the same. He really was a good man. And I'm gonna spend the rest of my life missing him. Wherever he is right now, I know he's watching over us. And it's important that he's no longer in pain and he's in a better place, along with his parents, Abuelito and Abuelita. Still, it never hurts to say how much your father means to you. So, Dad, thanks for everything. I love you, and I miss you. Que los ángeles te guíen pacíficamente hasta aquí después. Te queremos mucho. In English, that translates to, may the angels guide you peacefully to the hereafter. We love you very much. The same prayer that I said to him at his wake. Wherever he is now, I hope he's hearing this, and I hope he knows that, in spite of our past scuffles, I always loved him very much. And I just wish that I could have another chance to thank him directly. To just say, thank you for always being there when you needed to be. And thanks to everyone in my audience who took the time to watch this video, for taking the time to listen and for understanding how much he meant to us. Unless, of course, you're one of my stalkers or any of the evil fuckfaces who maliciously harassed me for years, in which case you can have an icicle fall through your skull. As for the future of this channel, things are gonna be slow for a while. I still need to put energy into grieving, as it's the healthiest decision I can make for myself right now. And I do have a big family event going on in September that I need to help make preparations for. As for future reviews, I am still working on things like my re-review of G5MLP and a few other things I foreshadowed in my start of the year video. Though there might be some stuff I have to push back due to certain unexpected occurrences, as I just went over. There are more important things that deserve my attention at this time, and I feel like it's best to keep my attention focused on those things. Until then, take care of yourselves.